Okay, I think we might be about ready to get started. There are a lot of very fun people in the room right now. I wish we were all together in a place at some point um, to be able to meet and chat. I know so many people have done so much wonderful work to get to this moment right here. So welcome. Thank you for all of your work. We're delighted to be in conversation with many familiar faces and names here, as well as lots of new folks this year. This is really going to be a fun Douglas Day. So um, we are delighted to get the program started. This is going to be our 8th year of celebrating Douglas Day with transcribathons, public programs, teaching materials, and a whole lot of birthday cake. So we hope that you all have your birthday cakes well on the way, or at least planned out. Um, we thought we might start very briefly by asking everybody who is in here. I see there's 63 of us and counting. If you might, if you might want to take a brief moment to introduce yourself in the chat, what your name is, maybe what organization or what place you're coming in from. I think it's really helpful for all of us to get to learn from each other in these large cooperative events. So we'd love to hear who you are, where you're at, who you're with, and anything else you might care to share. And we'll maybe take 30 seconds or so and let folks file that in.
I just saw a question come through on the chat. This meeting is being recorded and it'll be available on our YouTube channel if you'd like to refer back later.
We'll admit part of the thrill every year of this program is getting to see quite what a broad spread there is of folks out there in the world doing this work together. So we are delighted to welcome everybody, I think, from almost every state in the country at this point. Um, this is going to be a fun Douglas Day. So please continue as you are filing into the room to hop in the chat and share who you are and where you're at. But we thought we might also do the same to introduce you to the extraordinary team of talented collaborators who have been working pretty much year-round to get ready for this event. They are brilliant, wonderful, talented, and deeply collaborative in ways that are, I think, so very rewarding to all of us who get to be a part of this team. So I will let folks introduce themselves, and I might first ask the other person who was just speaking, Gabby Sutherland, to start by introducing herself. Gabby?
Hi, everyone. Great to see you. I am with the Center for Black Digital Research, and I also serve on the Douglas Day team. I generally provide administrative and project management support. This is my third Douglas Day. Obviously, the cake is a great part, but also the community building and getting to see folks we don't get to see the rest of the year. I will pass it off to the next person.
I will
Maybe you
go
would choose
because
somebody? Yeah.
I think Denise is not here just yet, so I'll go. Hi, I am Summer Hamilton, and I am excited to be here. So my role is to work with the transcription tutorials and to help with the sort of like any sort of technical stuff like that. One of my favorite things about Douglas Day is the cakes, but not just eating them. I also love the fact that just to have joy, to think about Black history in the context of joy and celebration is very nice and refreshing. So that's my favorite part. And I think I'm handing it off to Courtney.
Hi, everyone. My name is Courtney Murray. I'm a dual title PhD candidate at Penn State in English African American Studies. My role on Douglas Day is basically communications and outreach and all of that. So if you got any newsletters, the stickers, flyers, that is coming from my side of Douglas Day. And one thing or some things that I am excited for every year for Douglas Day is the community, but also like summer, I like the community through seeing how people are designing their cakes and doing everything else. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you all for being here as well.
Good
What do
morning, everyone. Apologies. You got it?
Denise,
There you
go
go.
ahead.
Apologies for being late. Courtney and I are in the same room, so we have to actually silent all on our computers and get fun feedback. My name is Denise Berger, and I am in charge of curriculum and curriculum development of that team. I also work with Aiden on community outreach. And what am I excited about? Just the fact that we've been able to continue doing it. So there's a kind of longevity to Douglas Day and the work of reviving and continuing this effort that started with Mary Church Terrell, which is very cool. So I think that's it. I'm not sure if anyone else has yet to go. Is that it? All right, very good. Oh, Jennifer Sassi, there you go.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here this afternoon. I'm Jennifer Isasi. I'm the Digital Liberal Arts Research Initiative Director here at Penn State. I support Douglas Day in several manners, but mainly supporting the connection to the College of Liberal Arts, technology, figuring out also workflows for data management when needed. And I enjoy Douglas Day because one, I learn from one historical figure every year that I didn't learn about throughout my studies, because I did Hispanic studies, so completely unrelated. And then also I love that I meet new people, both in the Douglas Day team and in the community for the day every single year. And I'm gonna pass it on to Aiden.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aiden McConan. I'm a PhD student at Penn State with a dual title in Geography and African Studies. And I, as Denise mentioned, work on the outreach team in terms of supporting getting local folks to engage with Douglas Day. And as far as my favorite thing for Douglas Day, it's, I think, similar to other folks who've mentioned, the community component. It's really great to see folks of all different types of age ranges, grade levels, parts of the world participating in this sort of project. So that's my favorite. And then I'll pass it to Jim, I suppose, as the last person.
Okay, I think we might have missed one or two folks on our team. I might ask Lauren Algie, who is an ongoing member of our team, to introduce herself as well, because she has a really cool job.
Sure, I'm happy to be included as a surrogate member. So I'm Lauren Algie. I'm with the Library of Congress, and I'm one of the community managers for By the People. So we are thrilled to be the Douglas Day Project again. Mary Church Terrell's papers was the project in 2021, which we were able to support and work with you all on. And we're just so excited to be part of this collaboration again. Douglas Day brings in so many new folks to our collections and pushes us forward in so many collaborations and conversations within our institution. So we just are really excited to have all of that happening again this year.
Fabulous. So you can see why this takes a lot of work, and these folks have been working incredibly hard over the last weeks, months, and even years. So we thought we may as well get started with our preview here today. We're going to try and get you prepared so that there will be nothing new showing up next week. For those of you who are hosting events, we'll have plenty of materials. And for those of you who are here to help with the transcribing as well, we're going to have all kinds of details to share in a moment. This year, I will emphasize Douglas Day is going into its 8th annual program. We have something in the order of 7,300 people signed up to transcribe together at 135 different schools, museums, libraries, companies, church groups, youth groups. The extraordinary diversity, I think, is a real profound argument for the importance of doing Black history together in this moment, particularly in this national moment. And so we thank you for being part of this collective action. We truly could not do this without all of the effort coming from so many different places. So let's talk about what that's actually going to entail. I'm going to ask now, Gabby is going to share a little bit about the schedule for our materials.
Hi, if we could just have the slides back up a little bit.
I'm
So
going
Douglas
to
did,
stop that a second and
oh, no problem.
yeah.
I can get started. So Douglas Day, we are hosted here at Penn State, and we're working in a broadcast room in our libraries. So you'll see our faces again on the 14th. We generally start with a welcome and a blessing from a pastor, and then we will, oh, it's coming. You'd think by my third Douglas Day, I would have the schedule memorized, but I'm not quite there yet. Oh, Jen, I'm seeing hints on hosting a great event.
Yeah,
Could I?
Jim, please.
Better to get our technical difficulties out today instead of the 14th.
Yeah, Jim, if you can share them, I'm having trouble with my computer for some reason.
I always joke we're this far into using Zoom in our era, and yet here we are still learning how to use it. So
There we go. So we'll kick off the day with welcomes and introductions. That will be a little smoother than today. We'll hope you join us in singing Lift Every Voice and Sing. We'll hear an overview of the program just as a reminder when we get started. And then we'll hear from some speakers on Douglas Day, some Douglas experts, and a little bit more to get you excited about the materials. From 12:30 to 1, you'll be able to transcribe. And then we'll come back and kind of check our progress together, get excited about what people have found. We'll sing happy birthday, and we'll listen to a dramatic reading from a speech given by Douglas. A lot of people have told us in the past that that's their favorite part of the program. So definitely you want to tune in at that 1:30 period. 1:30 to 2, we'll return to activity, and you can transcribe a little bit more. 2 to 2:20, we'll be able to hear from some additional Douglas experts and explore some of the treasures that are in the collection at the Library of Congress. 2:20 to 2:45, we'll go back to transcribing. And then at the very end of the day, we'll be able to share some highlights, some exciting things that people have found, bake-off prizes. We'll be able to share some of the best cakes that we saw throughout the day, and just kind of have a chance to reflect together as a group and about the progress that we've made. So to help you make sure that your Douglas Day is the best yet and without a lot of stress, we do have an organizing kit. The link is right there at the top of the slide. You can go there and find flyers, buttons, stickers, everything that you'll need to host a successful event. I know a lot of you have utilized those materials in the past, so this shouldn't be too much of a surprise. There's also some tips and strategies for transcribing and for hosting community events with people of color.
fabulous. And if I can encourage folks to maybe keep an eye on that space as well. Since the last time you looked at it, we may have added new material, and we will certainly have more material to add in the next week as things finalize and become available. So please watch that space. It's really been developed in response to what we hope might be useful to make your lives as easy as possible putting events together. We know it's a ton of work to organize events, so we want to be here to help, and that's been our primary space. If you don't see anything there, and it seems like it ought to be there, please don't hesitate to give us email through our About page. You can find our email. We are constantly growing with all of you in so many spaces. So we are delighted to be able to share these materials going forward. But I think next we're going to talk briefly with my co-director and the wonderful Denise Berger about some of the ways that we might imagine hosting really rich and rewarding events next Wednesday.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Jim. Can everyone hear me? Because, yes? Okay, great. So truthfully, as Jim has mentioned, and Gabby as well, walking through or clicking through rather, the organizing kit will really give you a lot of information and support. So these are guidelines and suggestions. These are not requirements. You will not be pushed to the back of the class if you don't follow all of these exactly. These are merely suggestions. And so among all of them, we want to encourage you to reach out to Black or independently owned bakeries if you're going to get a cake for Douglas Day for obvious reasons. We want to encourage you to reach out to, if you're school-based, to reach out to Black organizations on your campus, whether the African American Studies Department, the Black, if you have a Black Studies Department, if there are individuals who teach Black history classes, if they're independent student organizations or other Black or African diaspora-based cultural organizations at our campus, to explicitly reach out to them, invite them to come and join you for your event, which means literally sending them a very nicely worded email with links and information about the event that you're going to have. If you're going to have an in-person event, we strongly encourage you to serve food. That's one of the values that we have, that we encourage other people who are hosting community events to focus on, so that people will be comfortable. There's a flyer that you can modify, a template of a flyer that you can modify. There are other types of suggestions about how to participate. So again, you can join us right at 12 and you can stay with us for the entire duration. Or if it's a class or you have a certain amount of time that you can be there, that's not a problem. It really is a kind of choose your own adventure when it comes to the live stream. And so you should feel comfortable doing that. In addition, the recording of the live stream will be available afterwards. And I saw someone post a question in the chat asking if they could just transcribe right through the breaks. And yeah, you absolutely can. And you can continue to transcribe once Douglas Day has concluded. So you should not, again, these are suggestions that will help you have a successful, fun event. It's not a recipe that you need to follow exactly, and you're not gonna be able to get anything from the event if you don't actually follow the suggestions that we make. If there are any other questions that I can respond to, the closing is way off in the future. Jim can actually address some of these questions with a lot more knowledge, but generally speaking, the transcription process stays open until all of the pages have been transcribed. So everything doesn't get transcribed on the day of. People continue to go back and continue to transcribe over time until it's finished. So no, again, it's a very open-ended process with lots of places for people to engage and interact with, not just what's happening on the day of, but the process over time. All right, so I will answer any other questions that I can find in the chat, but that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Denise. I think, as a few folks mentioned, I saw Zoe Van Nosteren from the Great Tompkins History Center suggested as well. We try to give breaks in the programming so that folks in your rooms can talk. We want to build community and be able to let folks share what they're finding and be able to post and, puzzle over things together. And so we really want to give you breaks from hearing from us to be able to sit down and get some good work going. You will also find on our schedule for the day a special Spotify playlist of work that we have gathered that we think lends itself to a nice transcription atmosphere, which of course takes lots of concentration. So plenty of breaks and time for food and snacks and conversations as well. One of the other things we wanted to suggest a little bit more with emphasis for this year's Douglas Day is checking whether or not folks in your groups might be registered to vote. At least for groups here in the US, it's going to be an important year for people to be registered to vote. For whatever reason that might be important, we will perhaps defer to another conversation. But we really want to make sure, especially young folks, if you go to vote.gov, they've made it easy to find your registration information or to create new ones. That's just really, really important. And we thought if we're getting everybody together this year, it wouldn't be so hard to also pay attention to some of the voter registration issues, which is certainly germane to the speech that Douglas gives, to the letters that he wrote, and to the alliances that he built. Lots more to be said on that. But let's actually get into talking a little bit about the materials. So next, I'm going to pass the mic.
So I am happy to talk about the Douglas papers today, but you will hear from the collection specialist, Adrian Cannon, on the day of to give you a lot more details and a lot more expertise about Douglas. But I will give you some background about what we're going to be working on. So the Library of Congress collection of Frederick Douglass papers is essentially the materials that were in his library at the time of his death in 1895. And they relate principally to his life and career during and after the Civil War. Most of his earlier papers were destroyed when his house in Rochester, New York burned in 1872. And we are specifically going to be focusing on what's called the General Correspondence series of the collection. So it's just one chunk of a larger Library of Congress collection. And like most collections of personal papers, the series is primarily letters received by Douglass, but it does also include some drafts and retained copies of things he was writing to others. But just seeing what people were writing to Douglass about, what they were responding to, is still incredibly rich in learning both about his life and about the life of the many important people around him. So he was well acquainted with leaders in areas across public life, and that include reformers and activists of Black and white, of both sexes. And he corresponded with folks included Ida B. Wells, Paul Laurence Dunbar, abolitionists like William Lloyd Garrison was a frequent writer. Women's suffrage activists like Susan B. Anthony show up frequently. He also served in a variety of appointed positions after the Civil War, and those are well documented within the letters he was receiving. So that includes correspondence with folks connected to his work as a commissioner of the Haitian Pavilion at the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago in 1893, which is an incredibly influential moment in his life, among an extremely influential life throughout, obviously. It also covers his personal life, so correspondence with family, including his children who wrote to him frequently, his friends, and letters written to him by members of the family talk about the particular hardships they were all enduring, and the problems that Black people were facing everywhere, both before and after emancipation. So that's also another thing that you can see through what people were writing to him about. His second wife, Helen Pitts Douglas, who married in 1884, is also documented throughout the series. Her letters are actually included within it. And she was a women's rights movement leader before and after her marriage to Douglass. So that's included as well. So a really rich group of folks who were writing to and hearing from Douglass, all included in the documents that you'll see on February 14th. And I just want to also briefly say that we are really excited to be transcribing this. We've never transcribed any of the materials in the Frederick Douglass papers before. Primarily, we'd wanted to be respectful of ongoing work being done by a scholarly editing project called the Douglass Papers Project. But Douglass Day was really, really interested in Douglass, and so they actually pushed us to reach out to that group. And through doing so, we learned that they really have not focused at all yet on Douglass's correspondence, or really only on early materials that aren't really covered much in the library's collections. So they are actually thrilled that we're going to be transcribing these materials, because these transcriptions can now serve as the basis for their work. And it also has led us to be able to incorporate what they have done back into the library's collection. So a win-win on all fronts. But just to let you all know that the transcriptions being created will not only go back into Library of Congress digital collections, but they'll also be the basis for this scholarly work that is already in progress and has been going on for decades, bringing together writings from across Douglass's life. So we're really excited about that aspect as well.
We're also really excited about that, and you can share with folks in your groups. This is literally changing the historical record. That's not a metaphor. The work that we will transcribe will be new historical information, and that's really, really exciting. And here we also have a page that Lauren and her team have shared from the Library of Congress's website, where there is a tremendous amount of material to be shared. I think we're next going to pass the mic over to Dr. Summer Hamilton.
Thank you. So as Lauren was saying, this is the Frederick Douglass collection, and I want to talk a little bit about some of the contents in terms of what you may see, how to transcribe, what are the different options about transcribing. And so this will be a condensed version of the tutorial, but I am going to paste in the chat a link to a longer version, including the short guide that I have that you'll see previews of today. And so what I've done is to really think about what are some of the things that may especially be of interest to Douglass Day transcribers. So the next page, that's fine, thank you. So as you get into the collection, you'll see, so if you've been with us and you transcribe through Zooniverse, the interface is going to look a little different than it looked last year. And so that's one thing I want to preview. But if you've been with Douglass Day for a few years, then you may have worked with Douglass Day on the Mary Church Terrell collection how many years ago? So this may be somewhat familiar. So when you get into the By the People page, you'll see that there are filters that you can select. And here's a little preview of what you might see. And so you can select Not Started, which will allow you to see all the pages that are available for you to transcribe. And as you drill down into those documents, you'll finally get to an image that you can transcribe, and you'll see there on the page what that kind of looks like. So you have the image on one side and the transcription box on the other, along with various options that you can use to help you zoom in and et cetera. I also want to point out while we're here that you'll see, as you can see in the preview box with the completed, needs review, and progress and all that, that much of the correspondence is in handwriting. It's handwritten cursive. And that's probably not a surprise, but maybe since it's in the late 19th century. And so just to give you a heads up about that. So just like, cursive writing, some of it is very clear, if you read cursive, then it's something that you can, read clearly. Some of it may be a bit more challenging. So the Library of Congress has provided some resources that I have also linked on our documentation that you can look at, like kind of hints and strategies and tips about reading 19th century cursive handwriting. The other thing that I want to point out is that we encourage, and I guess we can probably go to the next slide. Okay, so let me back up a little bit actually. So as you access the site, one of the things that you could do even now is to create an account. You do not have to create an account to transcribe, but if you would like to keep up with the pages that you've completed or that you've worked on, if you want to be able to tag things, if you want to be able to use the review option, then you'll want to go ahead and make an account. So that's something that you can go ahead and do now if you want to. Also, as I mentioned, that you have the options of transcribing or reviewing. So to talk about transcription for just a moment, again, I'm not going to go into detail, but these directions are there. So you'll just, in essence, you'll choose the Not Started or In Progress, you'll click on the image, you'll start transcribing. And if you feel like you're not quite sure, I saw some questions in the chat about people who were like, what if I get it wrong or what if I mess up? One of the really great things that I love about this site is the review process. So if you are unsure and you start typing and you're not quite, I can't finish this or something, then you can save it and get out of there and find another one. And that will now go into, and someone else can pick up on that in progress, or you can submit and people will be able to review the transcription that you have created and to check it for errors and to make any completions that need to be made. So we encourage you to use your best guess when you are trying to transcribe. If you feel like you have an idea of what it is, then go for it. And then I'll also go ahead and talk about, if we can go to the next page to talk about review. So once you've submitted a page, you'll get options that'll actually ask you, do you want to transcribe another one or do you want to review? Or at the beginning, you can, again, select the filter and go straight into reviewing. And reviewing, you'll see pages that other people have already transcribed. So this is a very collaborative project. So not only if you're working in groups at your different places, if you're working in pairs, but also you're working with people that you don't meet, because we're all working towards this goal of getting everything transcribed so that these papers can be searchable in the historical collection. So, so the review will allow you to see a document, and if you check it against the image, you read through the transcription and it looks perfect, then you go ahead and click accept and move on. If you see something that needs to be changed, then you're able to edit it and help out with getting that transcription to make that to be a complete version. Another feature that the Library of Congress has is the tagging feature, and that's a little bit different. We don't have that when we were using Zooniverse. So tagging is a way that you can provide additional information about a document. So it might be that you see that, let's say that Frederick Douglass's name is misspelled in the letter. So, but you transcribe that exactly. Let's say they left off the second S. You would transcribe it exactly as it's written, but perhaps in the tags, you might write the full name as it should be. And that will allow to make sure that that gets picked up in searches. And so, there are different ways that you can use tags. Again, all of this is listed on the Library of Congress site that I've linked, as well as on our Douglas Day site that I have linked in the chat. And we can go to the next. And then finally, there are just some little FAQs or things you might have questions about, and some of the things that have commonly come up when we've done Douglas Day in the past. I went ahead and, well, actually one of our team members made a chart, and so I've added a little bit to it. And so that will be, I think, also helpful for us to kind of get a quick glimpse of good to know or things that we need to know. Somebody in the chat is asking about the cursive writing, the tips. So if you click on the link, and I'll put it here again, if you click on that link, you'll see at the top of the page where it says Quick Start Guide. And there, one of the bullets, I point you directly to where that is. So that hopefully answers your question. And any other questions that you have about transcribing, I'll be happy to answer at the end, and also welcome Lauren's input as well, since he works on this platform all the time. So thank you. And I will now pass it on to whoever is next. Oh, one last thing, how to get help, sorry. How to get help. On Douglas Day, if you need help, first use X or Twitter, as it's formerly known as. You can use the hashtag Douglas Day to reach out to the team members who will be live tweeting. You can also use connect with the Bible by the People team directly, or History Hub, where the volunteers and other people who are transcribing can join like a public forum to discuss questions. You can also send By the People a message on their contact page. And then also, not on February 14th, but before February 14th, if you'd like to review, also on our YouTube page, which I've also linked in the tutorial that I created, on our YouTube page from times past, we have several tutorial videos. So if videos are more your jam, you'd rather kind of like hear and see it, then there's an opportunity for that too. So any way that you need the information, whether it's quick, whether it's the long version, whether it's video, we have you covered. Just reach out and ask us if you have any questions. I think I'm actually done this time.
Fabulous. Thank you, Summer. Just a couple of points, just to echo. Twitter is a unfortunate place. Yes, we still call it Twitter. But it's a place where we can talk really, really quickly across our groups. And so using that hashtag to share your birthday cakes, which you can also use on Instagram, hashtag Douglas Day, to share your birthday cakes. But on Twitter, if you post, it is likely that somebody else is having similar questions. And we're going to have a whole team monitoring that space to be able to rapid response as much as humanly possible. It tends to be a few thousand tweets in the span of a few hours. So if it takes us 2 or 3 minutes rather than 1, we hope that you'll forgive us. The other thing, before I maybe ask Lauren if she has any kind of general tips for the cursive problem, we know there's a whole generation of students that have not been taught cursive, and we will also leave those debates aside. There's a kind of general working rule, which is that give yourself at least 3 minutes to sit with a page. You know, it's very easy to go off and try and find a printed page. But part of the challenge of learning how to read this handwriting, even for those of us who have been doing it for a very long time, which some of us have, is just about kind of finding a word or two on the page that you can read. You know, we may not be able to read every word on the page. We may not be able to transcribe every word on the page, but literally every word helps. And so when folks are in your groups and they're feeling a little bit like, I don't know what I'm doing, this looks very scary, it's very unfamiliar, ask them to spend 3 minutes looking at a page. And then if they decide there's too much, I can't figure that out, then they can move on. Frederick Douglass, fortunately, had fairly good penmanship, which turns out to be a historical important element as well. I'll ask Lauren in a moment if she has any kind of broader tips for facilitating or attempting some of the handwritten. But we really want to encourage folks, more than any kind of specific techniques, is about encouraging everyone to really kind of feel the kind of ability to sit down for 3 minutes and just say, I can do it. There's a sort of if you do word search or Wordle or any of those kind of puzzle games, it's really kind of similar. And so we really want to encourage folks to take that on. That's always part of one of the really inspiring parts every year on Douglas Day. So Lauren, if you would want to weigh in before we go to our last set of announcements and then open it up for questions.
Sure. Yeah, just repeating things you've already said, but you know, as some were saying, there's the safety net of review. We really encourage folks to give it a try, to mess up, and it's okay. There's going to be a reviewer coming after you, who'll be double checking your work. we also encourage folks who feel confident to become reviewers. That's a really important part of this process. We need folks to be the second set of eyes to make sure things are complete before we can bring them back to the library's website. But also, as you were saying, it's all just one big puzzle. And that's part of the fun of it, is deciphering these things, and particularly magic of events like Douglas Day, where you're often in groups working together. We're so much stronger with more than one set of eyes. It's really fun to work with someone. And we've seen back in the day when we were doing a lot more in-person events, parents and children, even pretty young children who didn't have a lot of handwriting experience, really finding it fun to try to puzzle through these things together. And essentially, as Jim was saying, sort of puzzle out what you can, type those things. When you can't read something, put in a question mark in brackets, like it says in the instructions. There's also, in the corner of every page, just above the transcription box, is a find a new page button. Use it liberally. If the thing you land on isn't the right speed for you, find another page. It's not an assignment. You're not being graded. But I think also giving yourself time to really just sort of sink into the words and see what you can figure out. As Jim was saying too. I put in the chat a link to our resources page. We do have a couple of links there about handwriting that you might find helpful. But otherwise, just give it a try, give it your best effort. That's what it's all about. And we encourage you to just do what you can.
Fabulous. Thank you, Lauren. We are doing it all together, so not everybody has to solve all the problems, right? That's part of why we get to do these things. So next, I'm going to pass the mic for a last couple of announcements, and then we're going to open up for question and answer. We know that there are plenty of ideas and questions. So now we're going to pass it over to the next group.
Okay, so I'm just going to wrap us up by talking about social media and most importantly, our Great Douglas Day Bake Off. So next slide, please. I just want to reiterate what a lot of my teammates have already announced throughout the program so far. You can find us on Twitter, or if you rather say X, at douglasday.org. Instagram, we do have a great page over there as well, douglasday.org. And then YouTube, find us at Douglas Day. And most importantly, to get any kind of help, show off your cakes or show off your events, we can find you easily if you use the hashtag Douglas Day. Okay, next.
And sorry, Courtney, if I can interrupt. If we haven't mentioned it already, the stickers that you see on this slide here are available for order if you go to our organizing page. If you order them now, they probably will arrive before next week's event. But you can also just download those images and print them wherever you are able to print them. We don't make any money for this. We just want to make it easy to have cool, fun stickers, magnets, and buttons, and those sort of things.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and that's on our douglasday.org website on the organizing kit. If someone can put that link to our swag and everything, that would be great. And I just want to talk a little bit about the benefits of using social media on Douglas Day next week. So why post? It connects you, of course, with us, but also other people. It gives you ideas for future celebrations at your school, at your local libraries, wherever you are celebrating, even if you're celebrating at home with your family. And so, yeah, it shows off different ways that people are celebrating their cakes and their students. And so what to post? We'd love to see videos, especially if you are singing happy birthday, the cakes, and then people transcribing. Like, that's always cool to see, like, how are people engaging together with the transcription process? You see a lot of different people from all different age ranges coming together, and it's always cool to like see those moments happen. Discoveries. We have had a lot of people, they will post their actual transcription or the page that they are on and say, wow, look what I found. And so, we don't get to see every single page, but when people have cool things to show, like it's just, it's great. It's a great experience. And also your questions. So that is connected back to you connecting with us, the team, and we can easily get you help through these social media platforms. Next slide. And so this is just an example. We've had a lot of different groups. And so this was back in 2020, where we were celebrating the life of Anna Julie Cooper and her papers. And so if you know that there's organizations and groups connected to the individuals, or particularly like libraries and museums, we love to see that as well. You're kind of bringing out parts of their life in the modern day. Next. And I think someone was asking about examples about cakes. And so this is the part. It's so important. Like I said, hashtag Douglas Day helps us find the cakes. And the way to enter the contest is you post a picture of your cake along with this hashtag on Instagram and or Twitter. One cake equals one submission. So, you can't, we're just looking at you once. And that includes cupcakes as well. Any kind of cake, any kind of dessert, that's one submission. And then at the end, we will pick 3 winners. So show us your best, and we will announce them at the end of the live stream. And then afterwards, we have gotten really great with this. We will choose the 3 winners, and we will send you special, like design, like exclusive Douglas Day swag and prizes. Thanks. And this is just some examples of Douglas Day cakes over the years. I forget which the year this is, but this is one from 2020 where we celebrated Anna Julie Cooper, Howard University. And this was last year, 2023. And so, we wish we could enter the contest, but we can't. So we try to, show you how it goes with what Douglas Day cakes can look like. And these are just some examples from people around the world that have taken the theme or did their own thing and decided to bring in the message of Douglas Day or whoever papers we are transcribing. Okay,
And I
that's
think
it.
that brings us to the end. Thank you, Courtney. Really want to encourage the social media even in these difficult times. And we would now love to open it up for comments, suggestions. If folks have, yeah, I see some of the comments. The baking is very serious. We had done it for years because we were having fun, having a birthday party. And then you all went crazy during the pandemic on that baking craze. And the competition went from kind of fun to serious. And it looks incredible. So we love to be able to see all that. The other thing that we'll say too is bake your own cake. It's a lot of fun. But if you're too busy, there are a lot of incredible Black-owned bakeries across the country that might be in your area that you might not have realized are Black-owned, or that you can find, or that you can order from online. So we even include some of that in our organizing kit. We always want to support Black-owned businesses as part of this this moment here as well. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen so that we can see each other a little bit. And I'm going to invite folks to either raise their questions in the chat, or if you'd like to, I think, raise your hand just so that we're not cross-talking with each other. And then our team will try and spot them in order in which they appear. Any questions that we can help to demystify or explain or add more information for? I'll also invite folks in our team, if they have any other thoughts, to chime in as they see fit. The other thing, just while folks are formulating questions, and I'll keep talking, is that there's an incredible body of wisdom and knowledge about how to run these kind of newfangled events among folks in the room. And so I'm seeing people who have been organizing. I saw Emily Todd came in a minute ago, been organizing events for more than a couple of years. These things are a little bit complicated at times, but also really present all kinds of fun opportunities. So if you've organized Douglas Day events in the past, we'd love to hear what worked for you. What were the things that you added locally? We've heard of people doing button workshops and poetry writing after you transcribe, recruiting, all kinds of new folks to join organizations.
Oh, and Jim, if I can add, look out for our next Douglas Day newsletter. Probably most of you, if you got the message this morning about the preview of it, we'll be including a little section. If you are an individual or you are a smaller group looking to maybe join another group or a bigger group, we will have a map coming out where you can see any local areas that you might be able to join.
Yeah, thank you, Courtney. I see from Carolyn Goldstein, there is a question about background for Frederick Douglass. We are going to have a speaker for about 5 minutes. And we, of course, cringe a little bit that there's not more time to be able to share, but we want to make sure that folks have time to get to transcribing. So we're going to have a speaker for about 5 minutes talking about the life and times of Frederick Douglass and all of the many things. There are, of course, hundreds of biographies, it seems, including the great David Blight biography from a couple of years back. If you are looking for an 800-page, utterly thrilling read, I highly recommend the book. But in case you're not able to read all 800 pages before next Wednesday, we are going to provide some materials. And I also want to point to a page on our site or two that we have compiled. And the first one is going to be in the short biographical page. This is all linked from our organizing kit, but we wanted to try and get through these quickly. And that is going to provide you with a timeline and some basic material to be able to help sort of situate some of the work. But that is not the only place where you can find some relevant history. The extraordinary teaching page that our team, including Denise and Summer and many other folks here at our center have put together, has lots of information about how to contextualize the work that really is going to help to sort of make connections between somebody who's transcribing a page and finds something really interesting and then has larger historical questions. And if there are questions that come up, we're also going to have historians watching social media. And we may not be able to answer why Douglass went to Lexington instead of Louisville on a Tuesday, but we'll try as best we can. And we know that there's also plenty of other folks who are deeply learned students of his life and biography as well. I hope that answers the question.
He also went everywhere, so it might be fun to share about if you can find sort of local Douglass connections, which everywhere seems to have. That could be really fun context to share for your event.
Absolutely. I was just in Illinois yesterday and they said, oh, right, Douglass came through here in such and such year. And I thought, of course he did. Any other questions about organizing events, about some of the transcription, or anybody care to share some of the lessons that you've gathered from trying to facilitate in different ways? I might also invite the Douglass Day team, which has more wisdom than we could possibly fit in 4 hours worth of these conversations, if they have anything else they'd like to add. I know Denise is here, and Denise is a fount of wisdom, but I think I saw a hand just now. If somebody wants to unmute.
Yeah, hi, I could offer a little, I could just share while we have the time. We participated in this event 2 years ago, and we just opened it up to the campus, the college campus. And no one really came except the media and library employees. And this year, what we did differently was we sent individual invitations to all the faculty on our campus who we thought taught something relative or related in some way to Douglass's life and work. And we have had tremendous response. So the general open campus event was not effective for us, but sending individual invitations to about a dozen people, and we're going to be busy all day. So that was really effective.
Absolutely. So thank you for raising that, Andrew. That's literally one of the suggestions that we make in the organizing kit, because otherwise it's just too broad. But when you're more strategic in terms of identifying the professors and or the organizations, then you will absolutely get that kind of response, and people are interested. So congratulations on this year's already smashing success, and being willing to share that with this group. Just to be really, really clear, like, we thought very carefully about the things that are included in the organizing kit, because we made all those mistakes ourselves. And that's how we were able to actually figure out what works. And over time, people who have run Douglass Days have communicated this information and verified that, yes, if you try these things, you are more likely as not to be more successful. So we look forward to seeing pictures and hearing about how much fun you guys are going to have. And thanks again for raising that.
I now see a couple of questions, one from the chat about grasping the transcription process, and I think one other hand raised. We can maybe talk about the transcription in a moment. I'm sorry, I'm losing track with so many Zoom squares. If you have your hand raised, I think there's just one.
Yeah. Hello. Hi, Jonathan Niketa here. I'm with the Harley School here in Rochester, New York. We're really excited for this year to be able to to join Douglas Day. We're a nursery to 12 school, and we have this year the upper school history department is working with a number of students on an independent study that focuses on archival work, and they've already been doing transcription. So our plan is to have the library blocked off for the day and allow our students, these upper school students, to teach other members of the community about transcription, their process, what they've been going through, and then also these resources you shared today are fantastic. Be able to work those in as well. So we're really excited at how things are converging, and I hope that getting a Black-owned bakery in Rochester can help us beat UNLV. So that's my game plan. But I'm really excited to be part of this community. Thank you all.
Wow, that sounds like some incredible young people. We hope that they'll share during the event itself as they're training everybody else too.
Yeah,
good.
please do take pictures and or video that is comfortable and appropriate to share so that we can tell everybody about this really amazing work that your students are doing. That sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think it's fair to say many of us wound up in this line of work because of experiences like that. So that's incredibly inspiring to get to hear about. The other question I saw folks were asking about getting started with the transcription. One of the reasons that we are such huge fans of fanatics even of the Library of Congress's By the People platform is that it's incredibly easy to just sit down and start typing in terms of the mechanics. Reading the text might be another question, but it's really, really beginner friendly. But we also know sometimes that our computer literacies and familiarities and comfort zones can be different. So there are a few strategies that we might suggest as people are getting started. And one of them is, as I said, giving yourself 3 minutes to sit with a page before you feel the need to kind of flee. The second one is that many times there are folks who are, maybe great at reading handwriting, but maybe aren't so great at, the sort of navigation on the keyboard. And we also know that folks like to do this together. And so we really suggest that you think about pairing people to do collaborative transcription. If you have two people sitting on a computer together, one person can do the typing and they can both kind of puzzle together and say, I think that's the word lie, or I think that's the word the, and those are common sort of misunderstood, sort of different lines, right? There are all kinds of ways that folks can kind of do that work together that really, really makes it a more rewarding experience. In fact, I think I have more fun when I sit down with, Denise and I are staring at a letter and trying to figure out, what word is that again? What's that signature saying? Instead of saying, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm ever going to figure this out. Being able to talk that out together is a really sort of productive space for us. And so taking a moment to be patient, but also working collaboratively so that we can move the transcriptions on down the line without feeling like we're going to have to figure all things out all at once. If that makes sense. And as I saw, Henry, which thank you as well for all of your work over the years, one of the great transcribers out there. So full round of applause as well. But the Library of Congress website has many other materials available both before and for many years to come afterwards. And so if you want to just practice doing a little bit of transcription, there's some very cool projects already on there that aren't directly connected to Douglas Day, but that we have had to pull ourselves out of the rabbit hole on as well. And that's a very good preview. It'll be the exact same interface on Douglas Day as well. And so even if you just look at it for a couple minutes, what you see is what you will get next week, if that makes sense. Yeah, and the Joseph Holt campaign, for example, go look at that. It's really, really incredible. I'm seeing in the chat, I'm not sure if I'm keeping up with it, so please forgive me as we go forward. I saw the great suggestion here from Aaron Stein about pairing folks from a nursing home, I think with teens and college students. What a perfect pairing of skill sets where folks are great at reading the handwriting at one age and great at firing off the words quickly on the keyboard. What a fun group that sounds like. Douglas Day folks, anything to add in at this point before folks have to listen to me talk too much? Other questions, suggestions as we go forward? We don't necessarily need to fill everybody's full hour. We know that you are all tremendously busy in these times.
I had another thought on sort of scaffolding day of, I think you all might have a printable like cheat sheet as well to help with instructions. But we also have one on our resources page under Transcribathons. There's a like sort of quick tips instructions handout that's just like a one pager that is like nice big text, and we encourage you to like have those to hand out, to print out, to have next to keyboards if that's helpful. That just has like our transcription rules are very minimal compared to some other projects. It's mostly transcribe what you see, but there are a few things like how to indicate illegible text and things like that we want marked up in certain ways, and so that can be really helpful to have right by you if you're at like an in-person event.
Yeah, fabulous, Lauren. Yeah, that move to print out that one pager and just put it next to the computers where people are sitting winds up being more useful than having to click around and find lots of different pages too. Even as we try to overwhelm you with helpful information as much as we can, right? I think I want to give a last chance before we close off. This is certainly not the last chance to be in contact with us. We have our email address posted on the About page of our website. We will be actively monitoring the hashtag as well going into Douglas Day itself. Please don't hesitate to write us. No question too small. We are tremendously grateful for all the folks organizing all 135 different schools and events and birthday parties out there in the world. We think that this volume of birthday cakes is entirely appropriate to mark Black History Month, especially in our moment today. So we are grateful for all of the joy that all of you bring to the event each and every year. We wish we had more time to catch up with all of the old friends and meet more of the new folks in this space. But thank you to all of you for joining us for our preview event today, as well as for our 8th annual Douglas Day next February 14th. If there's nothing else, we will see everybody at 12 o'clock sharp Eastern on February 14th. Happy almost Douglas Day, everybody.